Hello and welcome. My name is Jason. I'm the CEO of Stingray's Bookkeeping. My website is stingraysbookkeeping.com. I have a YouTube channel, Professor Stingray's Small Business Bookkeeping Made Easy. Earning a degree in accounting was more difficult to me due to my post-concussion syndrome issues. I was encouraged to take a long sabbatical, and I wrote my own autobiography, The Journey of Two Angels. It was written in a format of one extremely long creative writing session that lasted 7 months. I created a website, journeyoftwoangels.com. The full journal as of 2025 is unpublished. I'm using the autobiography as source material. I'm creating several topic-specific sub-books under the series title of Two Angels. Both Two Angels, My Life with CTE. I cover TBI, Post-Concussion Syndrome, and CTE. This is a first-person account of my healing from a concussion in 2008 that was a brain scrambling. I have severe post-concussion syndrome, and I go into great detail. Chapter 1 is the CTE medical terminology. Chapter 2 is I was learning how my brain works. I'm dyslexic, so I was taught how my brain learns and stuff like that. Chapter 3 is my 2 major concussions, about the accidents and what happened. Chapter 4 is my life coping with CTE the first few years after the concussion and the healing. Chapter 5 was my healing injuries through brain therapy. I've been doing a lot of work the last 5 years, and I think that's helped my brain heal. Chapter 6 is my abilities lost due to the concussion TBI. I go through exactly what has changed, because since I know my brain so well, I know what I lost. Chapter 7 is the phoenix rising from the ashes. I lost my life, I lost my career from the last concussion, and I'm trying to rebuild something out of it. I could not think of a better metaphor than a phoenix rising from the ashes. Two Angels, the Unheard Voices of CTE. These are 8 athletes that gave their lives for CTE research. Their deaths were seen as suicides for depression or money woes, and their real reason, their voice is unheard. The real reason was for CTE research. These 8 athletes were our heroes. We cheered them on Sundays or on Saturday nights for the wrestling. They were our heroes on the field. They were our pillars of the community off the field. I think they were heroes leading the research in CTE. And I wanted to give their voices a lasting voice so they can be heard through many years. The Voices of CTE, Junior Seau. There are 3 different fan perspectives I used covering the 8 athletes of the Unheard Voices. The first perspective is the 5 players in the concussion. I know as a Cowboys fan through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I have heard their names, I have seen them play, but I have no idea who they were from my fractured memories. I'm not a fan of the players, but I respect for I did cheer or through their play. The second is post-concussion CTE related only. The 2 female wrestlers, Daffney and Ashley, I did not know who they were. I don't watch wrestling. Just their deaths in the CTE got my attention, and their story touched me. This perspective has zero bias of being a fan. The third is of being a huge fan, and I am a huge fan of Junior Seau. I played 9 seasons of soccer and I always played fullback. I had the nobody gets past me, so I have always taken a little pride watching the good defensive players versus the Hollywood star offense that usually gets all the glory. Junior Seau, I am a huge fan, which makes this the most difficult story to tell, but I am honored to let his voice be heard. If I was only going to do one of the athletes of the Unheard Voices, it would be Junior I would talk about. Now, I was just reading what I wrote to make this video, and I realized something. He left no note. He said absolutely nothing. And the other athletes I talk about, they always were on something, saying something about donate my brain to BU. If you see from my perspective, he didn't have to say anything. It's as plain as the sun in the sky on a hot Texas summer day. Junior Seau, age 43, NFL player, Chargers number 55, defense, died 2012. Now, I had my accident and concussion in 2008, so I was 4 years after my post-concussion. I was still in a brain fog when he died in 2012. Seau was a true homegrown, hometown, all-American hero. He was born in Oceanside, California, went to high school at Oceanside High School, and played college at the USC, which University of Southern California Trojans. 13 of his 20-year career was playing for the San Diego Chargers. Junior was a hero on the field and a hero in the community, something that was and will always be a story of inspiration. The number 55 linebacker for the San Diego Chargers earned 8 All-Pro selections, 12 Pro Bowls, 56 sacks, Defensive Player of the Year, and 1 Super Bowl appearance, and the 1990s All-Decade Team. The San Diego Chargers became a team the rest of the NFL did not look forward to playing against. Seau hit like an out-of-the-control freight train and ruled his field. Junior Seau was posthumously inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 2015 as one of the greatest linebackers in its history. Posthumous. I can't repeat that right. I can't expect. For reading this for research for concussion stuff. I'm having a concussion episode where I'm trying to do this. I'm making mistakes posthumously after his death. I know. I have the condition that Junior's talking about the condition. Know the irony. Junior retired January 2010 and committed suicide 2 years later. Right in the middle of my recovery. Junior's career, his stats, his video highlight reels, the stories about his on-field competitiveness are all over the internet. I am not going to talk about it or show it. While researching Junior's off-field personality, I came across a quote, "Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." Abraham Lincoln. I found the quote on brainyquote.com. "Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." The NFL reported on May 2nd, 2012 that Junior Seau, a homegrown superstar who was the first fist-pumping emotional leader of the San Diego Chargers for 13 years, was found shot to death in his Oceanside home on Wednesday morning. Or shot to death. On Thursday, the San Diego medical examiner ruled it a suicide. "We believe it was suicide. There is no indication of foul play," local police said. The police chief and said Seau's girlfriend reported finding him unconscious in one of the bedrooms with a gunshot wound to the chest, and the life-saving efforts were unsuccessful. A gun was found near him, but no suicide note. So I didn't realize that he had no suicide note. I've done other athletes, and they all left a note somehow. The year before, Dave Duerson, I've also done a video on him now, shot himself in the chest, leaving a suicide note donating his brain to science. Dave Duerson was one of the 5 of the Concussion movie. I want to discuss and give my educated opinion about an incident that Seau had. This is an example of post-concussion syndrome having issues. Now, in October of 2010, Seau survived a 100-foot plunge down a seaside cliff in his SUV hours after he was arrested for an investigation of domestic violence at his home. The woman had told authorities that Seau assaulted her during an argument. Now, let's go do a timeline through the concussion, and the brain kind of runs down. He was up, they were arguing, he was expending energy in the fight, arguing, and that was limited brain injury. Then he got arrested, then he went to jail, he had to bail himself out, more time gone by. then later on he was driving had an issue. There was no evidence of drugs or alcohol involved in the crash, and Seau told authorities he fell asleep while driving, and that was the cause for going over the cliff. Falling asleep, he didn't understand what was going on. This makes absolutely no sense until you plug in the post-concussion and possible CTE. And Junior was talking to authorities, police, and doctors after the wreck, asking him how he drove off a cliff. They want to know why, but not being able to explain. Falling asleep sounded like a good reason to cope to give. Cops looking for drugs or alcohol causes. I don't know if he was, I'm sure they tested him that he was clean. It's Junior Seau. He wasn't like that. Now let's plug in my experience and opinion. The falling asleep while driving and plunging down a 100-foot seaside cliff. The police and doctors are always needing an explanation or having ruled out drugs and alcohol. Falling asleep excuse seemed about as close as he could figure, and authorities would take and move on. Now, my years around law enforcement, 15 years as a security officer, being around lots of cops, has taught me they are looking for criminal behavior. They're looking for drugs, for alcohol as a cause. Something worth filing charges over. A crime was committed. Let's put him in jail. Let's file it. That's what they're looking for. Now, Junior was driving near his home in Oceanside, obviously someplace he was used to driving around. So it wasn't like he didn't know the cliff was there. He had probably got a headache or a dizzy spell, causing him to lose focus, unable to operate the SUV, causing him to drive right off the cliff. An episode would definitely cause that, and it is like getting suddenly drunk. When questioned about why he thinks he crashed, falling asleep sounded like a good possible reason. To be clear, this is not blaming him or calling him a liar. He was feeling like he was going crazy, losing his mind. He had no idea what was going on wrong with his head and did not know how to describe it, making him feel more desperate and alone. I've had 17 years to examine myself having all these episodes. He didn't understand, and you don't realize you're having an episode till later. Now let's factor in the earlier fight with the girlfriend, which happened that morning, and he was arrested and just had been released from jail. That means he spent time in jail. It's been a long day for him already. This made for a very stressful day that adds to the tiredness. Probably started over him not liking how his brain wasn't working, turned into an argument, and snowballed into an assault and arrest. It's probably his arguing with his girlfriend about his brain not working right, about the concussions, and trying to explain what was going on in his head. He's probably having an argument about what was wrong with him. And that just got snowballed. Next thing he knows, he's arrested and for an assault charge. To Junior, he was losing his mind, losing his world. That's why they're arguing, probably. Now arrested for an assault that would make headlines and cause more stress on his damaged brain. When he was driving, he must have been on his brain's reserve tank. I talked up and I have a timetable on my brain. It stops working after so many hours. No Red Bull's going to help that. His brain's reserve tank working, but on emergency power only. I want to talk about Junior's legacy. Junior was a different type of player. Junior Seau is one of the many great athletes that drew my attention and enjoyed watching to do their thing on the field or racetrack. Junior was a very interesting one to follow. Every single one of his opponents hated to play against him. The San Diego Chargers became the team that no one wanted on their schedule, fearing the beast wearing 55 jersey. They all feared playing against Seau. League-wide. Now, a Fox Sports article written by Joe Posnanski. Joe ranked the 101 best players in NFL history. Joe was writing about the Chargers division rival KFC Chiefs back then. Giving Joe an interesting perspective playing twice every season, here are some of his opinions. I love this part. And for crying out loud, his name was pronounced Seau. For crying out loud, get over reporter. For crying out loud, his name was pronounced Seau. Junior Seau was a blur. That's how I remember him. A blur. He was too fast, too much of a whirlwind for the eye to follow. He was listed as a linebacker, but the truth is Seau was just a linebacker. No designation needed because he played all of them at the same time. He was the defense most of the time. For opposing offenses, there was no place to hide from Junior. It was probably the finest game performance I've ever seen by a linebacker. His coach, Marty Schottenheimer, said after one game. Yeah, Marty Schottenheimer. But from the stands, it looked like in exactly every other Seau game. The guy just never stopped. His greatest strength was his lack of weakness. He was a fantastic blitzer, unmatched against the run, terrific in pass coverage, and he had impeccable instincts. Seau blitzing was a scary prospect for any NFL quarterback. Sadly, we now know the heavy toll that football took on him. The National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke found definitive signs of CTE in his brain. He suffered greatly for his years after football, but he would do all he could not to let on. He never lost his fear of being average. Fox Sports article written by Joe Panaski. Love a grot for the crying out loud. His name was Junior Seau. I like that. I'll give my commentary about something. Junior Seau did not leave a note. He expected us to understand. Junior's brain was the perfect brain to test. Crying out loud. The talk about hitting heads and the collisions was being the cause of the CTE. Go pull up any Junior Seau highlight reel. Nothing but huge, hard-hitting collisions. You don't have to ask him how many concussions he had. They've all been filmed. If Junior's brain tested positive for CTE, then that would be 100% confirmation that hard collisions cause so much unseen damage. If his brain tested CTE, that meant concussions cause CTE. There's no better test of another player. Junior's brain did test positive for CTE. Junior's a great player. He didn't leave a note. But with the time that's going on, the athletes were watching what was going on with CTE. The athletes were paying attention, especially those with the concussion, post-concussion syndrome. They were all looking for answers. Junior didn't leave a note, but he knew we would all understand why. He was a great player. He was a hero off field, and he's one of the heroes of the fight against CTE.